Good morning to you all. Practically everybody in this room is new to me. People who are even with us virtually are new to me. And even Scotch is very new to you. So the only thing I can tell you is that whatever Scotch does, we do it from the heart. We do it with a lot of affection and piousness. And like, I am a big person about value systems and sanskar. So, when you start invoking gods for a prayer, you tell them that agar koi bhul chuk hogi ho to pehle se hi maafi mang rahe hain. Because I have never really dealt with judiciary or lawyers in the past and I don't know what's the correct way to do so. But I will treat you like I treat any fellow human being that I respect. This is the first time we are doing India Law Forum, and I really don't know what I say to people who are far more educated, far more experienced, far more well-read than I can ever aspire to be. I unfortunately had formal education only till schooling, which is class 12. And after that, I started working as a bellboy. I used to lift bags, and I finished my graduation by correspondence. So I unfortunately am not in the erudite category. All I have to share is my stories, my anecdotes, my life, and why I do what I do. I was a practitioner of poverty for the first 17 years of my life. Both my parents were physically challenged. So I do know a thing or two about being excluded. So what I really think about often is, can there be a world where there are no exclusions, where there are no divisions, no exploitations, and no hatred? Probably true utopian, not going to happen, but we have to all keep trying. I am just one of the fellow travelers with you all in that path. Just because utopia is never going to happen doesn't mean that we do not try. The first judge that I surprisingly met in my life was Justice M. N. Venkatachalaya. That was 2 months back. So I met the first judge in my life 2 months back. And I knew all of 2 lawyers before that. And I spent 2 hours with him, listening to him with rapt attention. And all I can say about that meeting is that it was like being in the presence of God. I felt closer to God for those 2 hours that I was sitting in front of him. I just wanted to keep looking at his face and keep listening to whatever he was saying, because he was talking about everything that is good, everything that is moral. And he talked about a concept of what we owe each other as a society. As I said, I am not very well read. I couldn't grasp the gravity of what he was trying to say to me at that point in time. Till just yesterday, I said, so when I do this speech, what do I talk about? And that word stuck in my head, what we owe each other. And then I googled and I found that there is this lady called Monash Shofik. She heads the London School of Economics, and she's done this book about what we owe each other, a new social contract, where she redefines the role of a welfare state. She says that all of us as adults in different phases of our life contribute to the society. So the role of a welfare state should not be that of redistribution of wealth, the Robin Hood function as she calls it. It should actually be to look after its people through the various stages of their life, when they're old, when they're infirm, when they're in need of health, so on and so forth. And she feels that state and even the society should have these functions as social contracts. Well, I completely agree with her end objective that the old, the infirm, the needy should be taken care of. It is essential for having a just and fair society. But I completely disagree with the fact that any state, more so India, with 1.3 billion people, has the capability of carrying such a burden, and whether as society and families we should be waiving contracts at each other, that I did this for you, I paid for your education, so you better look after me in my old age. Should that be a contract? I think we should rather be guided by a moral compass, and that is a moral compass that possibly we all got in the lap of our mothers or teachings of our fathers. Unfortunately, a fallout of economic growth and development has resulted in an erosion of that moral compass. In fact, we were having this discussion on Pinky Anand's book, and Mahesh Jethmalani and Pinky Anand were saying the biggest criminal cases in India. And she said the role of civil society is very important in terms of venting and making sure that the right thing is done. And the case in point was a Nirbhaya case. And I said that when we were younger, we were there in Rangabilla case. The outrage was a lot more, even without any social media, without any connectivity, without people being so rich or being so educated. Today it takes a lot. It takes the most heinous of the things to happen before civil society gets its act together and starts talking about it or outraging about it. Part of that, possibly the media has to be blamed as well. So how do you make sure that this outrage happens in earnestness? I think the responsibility as parents is on all of us. That moral compass that was given to us by our parents, we must pass it on to the next generation. I talked about my mother. My mother was blind. She was poor as a mouse. She was richer than my father because she could always stash away whatever little money we had under the mattress and make sure that whenever there was some dire need, she'd fish it out. But she looked after me well. And there were days we were hungry. We had one meal to eat. We did not have the second one. And I was talking to Justice Deepak Saran yesterday, and he said that hunger can change a person, can make a person commit a sin, it can make a person very angry, it can make a person very depressed. And I shared with him, I said, sir, I learnt a new word from him, sublimation. I said, sir, it didn't happen to me. He says, you've been able to sublime these emotions into your consciousness and do something greater. How did that sublimation happen? Is whenever I was troubled or hungry or was short of something, my mother would tell Mata about it. She was a great believer in Mother Goddess, and she would tell me to tell God about it. And in my head as a kid, I would have that conversation with God, and my worries would ease. And I knew that there was a light at the end of the tunnel. Now those conversations with God do not happen very often. Now we turn to courts and a legal system to reset our moral compass, to get liberties, to get freedoms, and to get equality redefined in the contemporary context. I believe India is too large to bring about a person by person change. That job still remains with the parents and the immediate family. But it is the judiciary that is helping bring about that change in a much larger social context and a population-wide field of impact. And for that we've gathered here today to salute the institutions and the people who have been doing this yeoman service, the things people know about that they did, things people do not know about they did. We are trying to bring out these things, document them, make them a part of contemporary history so others can take note of, learn from and be inspired, and hopefully we have another generation with a good sense of morality ahead of us. With that, we present to you a biographic film that we did on Justice Venkatachalaya.